Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in again to another episode of CivilianTacticalWeapons.com. Today's episode is actually going to be about the Glock 17 and the Aimpoint system. So, go ahead and check the gun, it's clear. What I want to actually show you here is what the Aimpoint system looks like. You can actually put two different aim points, technically three. There's also a silver one you can get. There's actually, this one here is a micro H1. You can also put, of course, a micro T1 on here. And what I have is the Aimpoint mount. The interesting thing about this, as you can see, instead of like a lot of the traditional types of ways you see people mounting optics, what they'll do is they'll put some form of a rail system that bolts onto the lower frame, creates a floating top where the actual optic is stuck on top of it. The nice thing about this Aimpoint system is this is actually bolted directly to the rear sight. So the rear sight, which is actually a push sight on a Glock, has actually been completely replaced, and I actually have the same Aimpoint mount system on it. So the nice thing about this is if you're going to go ahead and use this one, I've got a red dot right here. So when I'm looking through this optic, I'm seeing a red dot. So if you're thinking about quick acquisition, same thing you do with carbines and pistols, what I'm able to do now with the micro T1 system on here is I'm able to acquire my target a fraction of a second quicker than I would with using traditional front and rear sight pictures. So you think about your traditional sight pictures, all those things, those are all great fundamentals that you need to learn, but if you're using a red dot system, you're getting that much faster accuracy. So if you're talking about, not really accuracy, more target acquisition. So if you're talking about doing plate runs, you're talking about doing any competitive rapid fire shooting, you'll see people have actually kind of went on to the red dot system. So let me go ahead and have you see this thing up close a little bit. So what I've done here is actually zoomed in to the Aimpoint Micro T1. As you can see, it sits very snug on the rear sight. This does not move, shake, or cause any other harm. There's been a few gun shows I've went to over the last few weeks, and my level of frustration with people buying fake Aimpoints. In fact, some of the Aimpoint boxes you'll see that you'll see at these gun shows will actually have, I've actually seen completely replications of the Aimpoint box. You can instantly feel it's not an Aimpoint by the weight. They're made of cheap plastic and stuff. All Aimpoint optics are actually made out of metal. I mean, they're metal optics. They're not made in China, they're made in Sweden, and there's a completely different level of quality from a real Aimpoint versus some made in China piece of crap that they sell on these gun shows for fractions of the cost. You could not take one of these cheap airsoft made optics, stick it on a Glock like this, and have it deal with the constant recoil. And this is the reason, this is really a big core difference of an Aimpoint of when you're looking at a particular Aimpoint system versus some knockoff, is these are designed for a tremendous amount of beating these optics up. If you think of the recoil going on and moving the slides back and forth, these are the types of designs that the Aimpoints are designed for, not like some cheap airsoft one. So the nice thing about this, I've done one enhancement to it, and I'm actually show you. If you look at the front of the optic here, what I've done actually on this optic is I've actually, I don't know how many of you have an iPhone or an Android phone. One of the popular things is you get some form of a screen protector. What I've done is actually cut out a hole of a screen protector and laid it on top of the Micro T1 here on the optic. You can't even see it. I don't even notice that it's there when I'm looking through the optic. But the nice thing about it is when this thing comes up, if I'm concerned about any shell casing coming up here and accidentally hitting this optic, it's not going to hit the optic, it's going to hit this little piece of plastic I have here. And the nice thing about this piece of plastic is it's going to protect the lens from getting scratched. These are very resistant lenses, those types of issues happening. But what I wanted to do was, if you're looking at buying a $600-700 optic, I want to be sure that I could protect it in most cases. I don't actually recommend you doing this little lens thing on anything else besides this particular setup. So I don't have it on any other setups, but how close, if you look at how close this, where the shell casings are ejecting out of the slide, you're very close to that optic, so I did that as just a precaution. Anyways, this is a very nice setup. I actually sell this Aimpoint setup for you guys. Definitely check it out. If you have a Glock, this is only done for the Glock, so don't ask me about any other handgun. They only make this mount for the Glock. However, if you do buy an aftermarket rail system that will bolt onto your lower frame to create a floating rail, and you're running a standard, mil spec, Picatinny rail type system, you can mount this, just the regular micro T1 directly on it. So, if you have any questions, please email me at civiliantacticalweapons.com at info@civiliantacticalweapons.com. And I hope to see you in a future episode.